Hey guys, Metal Stash here again, and today I'm going over my GUI updates that I've done. Updates like if you click on a unit's name, when you have like this whole group of units selected, it'll select that one, and if you have an action clicked, it'll activate that action to run and check for if the mouse button down or whatever it's supposed to do. So let's go into the project here, and I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about. So if you select these spider units here that I've created, you can select one of the units from down here, and it'll select just that one. So if you want a specific one, I'm probably going to add when it's hovered over the button that it tells you which one you have selected, so that you'll know which one you're going to select. And then the another thing I've added, if you want to exclude some units from your selection portion, you can just right click and it excludes it all the way down to the last one, so you can actually clear out your selection that way. And then you can my last thing I've done, I've added my click activation to actions. So if you click on an action, click on screen, and if you click on the GUI, it doesn't do anything. It waits for the input to be off the GUI. And I don't know if my attack script quite works yet. Haven't really tested it much, and I don't have my stop working, so but that's what I'm going to show you guys how I've done. I didn't add anything new to the project itself. This is going to be all script. So I am in the player controller script in the onGUI function, and where I've added some new things is when the part where I draw the buttons to display the unit's name and info and stuff like that, I've added just a little bit, really, just 2 checks to check if the left mouse button is down or is it the right mouse button that's down. And you can't actually do like input get mouse button. You have to do an event check, and I don't really know how I figured this out. It was just kind of like I was looking through the scripting reference and somehow found this thing called event, and it turned out that if you check the current event and check the current event button, and if it's equal to 0, that means the mouse button is, the left mouse button is down. Then what I'm going to do is temporarily store that selected unit into this temporary array, clear the current selected array, add it back to the selected array, and then for pragma strict limitations, I had to store the selectable into a temporary selected collider variable. So it sounds kind of weird that I had to do that, but that's what I did, and it's just to comply with up here at the top, pragma strict, which turns off Unity's dynamic typing, which is variable typing, so that it actually runs faster if you have that on, or if you have pragma strict on. But when you have dynamic typing on, because you can have variables changing their types, so like an int can change into a double, things like that, that you sometimes want control over. So last thing I do is set this temporary selected unit's selected state to true. Then, oh my god, why does this thing keep coming up? It's every time I have debut open. So then I check if the right mouse button is down. That's the difference between 0 and 1. And I then again store the selected units collider into the temporary selected collider, set its state to false, or its selected state to false, and then remove it from the selected array. So it's just like clearing it from the array, so it doesn't have to do much to get it out of there, so it doesn't have any control over it. That's all I added for the to get that unit selection effect, where if you click on the buttons and stuff like that, it changes their selection state. Now the actions, those were a little more interesting to get to work. Had to check. So you have your GUI button here being drawn. I had to check if the I had to check for when the mouse button was down again, so that it wouldn't fire this all the time. I mean, it fires this once, so that it sends for every selected unit you have. It sets its action clicked function. It tells it that its action has been clicked. So like if I go over to the move script over here and have my action clicked function, I first wait 1 frame. I do that just so it doesn't look for the mouse click that happened when it clicks the button. So then I have a variable that I've set up that is called should check player input. That's should it check the player for the player's input. If it should, that means it's checking for player input. Then it checks if the left mouse button is down, and I need to have a better way of doing this, but for right now I can just do find player. I need to later change that to find the units player, the specific one, so that it doesn't get a different player. It needs to get its owner. So it checks if the mouse is not over the GUI. So this means that it's clicking on the screen, on the ground. It's going to tell it to do its action. So it's gonna I actually created another function called request command point in the player controller, so that I could easily, with my actions, request where it's been clicking. So it just saves on monotonous coding. So then I check if the action is selected. Then I need to set its action selected state to false. That's something in the player controller script to clean up some issue where if you were activating a action, click to tell it where to go, it would actually clear your selected units because you're clicking on the ground, but no units to click on. So it would actually clear your selected units first, and then the action wouldn't run. So that's why I had that extra variable in there for action selected. And then I just tell it to begin moving towards that point, and it is not interruptible because it's being told to move by the player. Now otherwise, if the mouse button is down and it's over the GUI, then it should still just stop checking for player input, because that means that it's probably you've clicked on something else. So like you've either clicked another action, or you've done something else that you really don't want to do that action anymore. So that is about it for that, guys. If you guys have more questions on that, because that was kind of a hard thing to figure out of how to check for that second mouse click. But after you do, you just do a variable check in the update function where if it should start checking for it, then that it works pretty well. I haven't found any issues with it so far. So I should later start working on some building videos. because I know I've been focusing a lot on units and the players, so I'm gonna start working on some buildings and having buildings create units so that you start getting this nice flow. And I've thought about the how I should do an economy and buildings, so I'm trying to work those out. So if you guys want to see more videos of my game, or want to see useful things for an RTS game in Unity, please subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Bye.